So in Halo 3, I've always wondered if you can get to this area on the mission Crow's Nest above these fans. Now, I always assumed it wasn't possible because, well, there's giant fans preventing me from getting there. So, can we explore the fan room? Let's give it a shot. So the fan room, or I guess the fan rooms, because there are two identical rooms right next to each other, are just outside of the hangar on the mission Crow's Nest. And I've actually tried to get to this area once before, using a very long and complicated method that didn't really turn out. And if you've been a viewer for a long time, you'll know about the computer incident where I lost basically all of my old footage. But it's been about 4 years since I tried this last, and I wanted to see if I could once and for all explore the upper area of this fan room. Yeah, I want to try to get up there, but we have some giant rotating fan blades in the way. The only way I could think to get past them is with deployable cover. So my first thought in this whole process was to avoid the mistake that I made last time. The Pelican that comes in the hangar, well, it's not in a fully solid state until it's dropped onto the ground. So what we did was jumped in the Pelican and tried to move it all the way to the top of this fan room, and after 3 hours had no success. This time I wanted to make it easier. I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this, and at that, I also wanted to do this solo. I haven't done a solo trick in a while, and I could think of no better method than using a deployable cover to bounce myself against the corrugated iron of the inside of the fan rooms and bounce at lightning speed to break past everything and land up on one of the window ledges at the top of this room. Now, doing things solo requires you to know a little bit more about the maps. So for this, I was going to need a checkpoint, but I knew that if I cleared out all the phantoms in this hangar, I could take one of the deployable covers that's right outside the overlook, and then I could quickly rush back into the fan rooms while the Pelican was being lowered into the hangar. Realistically, I would be able to get a checkpoint without any assistance. Okay, I'm gonna have to try, because there's like little, like what looks like windows up there, but you can't see out of any of them because it's just too tall. So after inspecting this, I wanted to make sure that I had the best chance to get up there. There are 4 iron bars before you even get to the fan for this, so I lined up in a position that I knew I would at least miss this. I waited for a checkpoint. This was the easiest setup I'd ever done, and after just a couple of minutes, we were ready to try to pull this off. Oh yeah, and before I forget, if you're unfamiliar with how deployable cover launching works, essentially if you look straight down with deployable cover equipped, you can jump in the air, and just at the apex of your peak when you're descending, you can throw the deployable cover and walk slightly forward in it. This causes a crazy collision bounce that sends you flying. Okay, anyways, cue the music. I went right through them. Damn it. So unfortunately, one of the issues with playing solo is that if you die 5 times in a row within 3 seconds of spawning, you'll automatically revert back 1 checkpoint. And I didn't think of this, so maybe this trick was going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. If I was getting good deployable cover launches, I would go really fast, and if I went really fast, it would mean I have a heightened chance of dying. So if I'm doing a really good job, this means it's actually a detriment to me. What the hell? Where did I just go? That was crazy. Almost made it. So I quickly discovered that if you went fast enough, you could go right through these fans. I was able to make it alive to the top before I hit my head and died, but this meant that we had promised to be able to get up to these windows. Now I just had to hit it. Well, after I got all set up again. So doing deployable cover launches is pretty precise work, and I realized that after like 30 attempts in a row of just absolutely terrible launches, hey, my reticle wasn't actually pointed all the way to the ground. So I had to make a quick adjustment every single time from this point forward to make sure that I was looking straight down for this. Kinda made it. So I was able to make it up, but I was traveling at a speed that was far too fast for me to live. I wasn't even coming close. But the thing about deployable cover launching is it only takes one lucky launch to get to your destination. There I go again. In the plains of nothingness. Fine. No! Going way too fast. I just can't. I'm splattering into the wall. Or I'm flying past. I'm going fast enough to fly past the fan, but then... Or I'm doing that. I'm going out to the plain of the deserts. The desert that doesn't exist on this map. Or like that. Going up too high, too fast. At this point, I realized that I might have been a complete idiot. On my descent down, I clipped right through the fans. So then, with plasma grenades, I tested out my theory. I don't think this fan is even solid. Immediately after this revelation, I realized there was probably a far easier method to pull this off. There was one item that I knew would get me the height and would be more consistent and predictable. But because I had already played through the mission, I just had to find it. If you know anything about Halo 3, you'll know that fusion coils in this game, when you're the host, send you absolutely flying if you stand on top of it and shoot it or beat it down. What? This would be far more consistent, like I said, than a deployable cover launch where I'm smashing 500 miles per hour into a metal wall at 10 feet away, hoping that I don't die and somehow bounce to the top. Uh-oh. This is exactly where I didn't want to get it stuck. Now, if you've ever tried to move items in Halo 3, you'll know the biggest challenge standing in front of you is steps. I would have to get this fusion coil to this room. No. And it's not. Yes! So the deployable cover method was me outsmarting myself, getting far too technical instead of just, testing the fans to see if they were solid. Beforehand, I just assumed for years that these fans were real, because why wouldn't they be? And as it turns out, the only things that are actually solid up here are the four crossbars. I don't think anybody's ever made a video on this area, so there you go. Might not be the most extravagant place, but it's one that has windows you can't really see, and on these, it's actually just a white light as the wall. I'm getting chopped in half. Tricky guys, Bungie was. Tricky guys. Play one of those, Fall Guys type games. If the fan touches your legs, it will kill you. Just kidding. I wonder if you can just get to the other one, too. I would assume. I don't have any fusion coils. And I ran out of the deployable covers. So it took me a stupid amount of attempts to get to the top of the first fan room. Nice. But I was curious how quickly I could get to the top of the other one and if it were cooler. Now it did look like the lighting was better, but I was determined to get this one done in under 5 minutes. But I got a little distracted and found out that you can actually manipulate both of these fans and make them disappear completely. If you go into the hangar and then proceed backwards to the door that you're supposed to proceed through later, it will be locked. But if you walk all the way to this door and then to the fan rooms, they will not have any fans. What the hell? For whatever reason, walking to this door completely deloads them. If you go to that door, the fans just disappear completely. Excuse me. Good checkpoint. Now the fan's there. What? So when I went back in the hangar to procure a fusion coil, the fans had loaded back in. I was so curious about this that I naturally went back to the door to see if I could make them disappear again. Figured doing this would be easier without all the fans blocking your vision. Now it's gone.
Oh, that wasn't even close.
That didn't work. Boom! Easy money. Both of them look like they're permanent bearers there. Now, this is just a fake. This is like just simulating light. It's not real windows, man. Shite. Alright, well, we did it. I don't get it. They just appear and reappear at random. For the longest time, I thought they were completely solid. Yes!